All right, so I am here at my in-laws for the Thanksgiving holiday. I thought I would go through their VHS shelf here so you can see what we're dealing with. Let's start out here. We have a Paul Bunyan Golden Book storybook. The Legend of John Henry is also involved here. So that's just kind of my mother-in-law was a elementary school teacher for many years, so I'm sure that was used in her class. Here's some Disney sing-alongs with Pocahontas, among others. Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King? Of course, they were in Montana, so this is The Cowboys with John Wayne. Let's see, another horse movie here. My Friend Flicka. I'm sure this was big to my mother-in-law. She was a horse trainer as a kid. Here we go, The Little Rascals, a whole collection here. The funniest episodes, so they say. I used to watch a lot of Little Rascals at like 6 a.m., on weekday mornings. Let's get into some of these over here. Of course, we got a lot of clamshells. So here's Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Michael J. Fox, anybody? It was pretty cool. This is neat. The Return of the King. So my wife is a big Lord of the Rings fan. I've actually never seen this clamshell version, though. So a little bit later release. On the VHS side of these. Prince of Egypt, of course. DreamWorks doing it upright. We have Tarzan. I saw this in theaters. It was like the first digital projection movie I remember seeing. Not a huge one for me, but The Great Mouse Detective. You get your Vincent Price in there. Again, lots of Disney clamshells. You'll find a lot of these, at Goodwill these days. It's kind of all they carry. The Incredible Journey. That's a big one. Oliver and Company. I remember all the McDonald's, excitement that they were doing there. They were releasing like ornaments, little stuffed animal things, figures. That was fun. Now here's one I've never heard of. Napoleon? Huh? Meet a Pup with a Nose for Adventure. I wonder, I guess this is just an early 90s film. I always wonder with these, were they foreign movies and then they got brought over to the U.S.? All right, well, there's Glenn Close and 101 Dalmatians. Still hard to believe we got 102 Dalmatians, that we got a sequel. It was so popular. Robin Hood. Oh, this was a big one for me as a kid. This is one that I watched a lot. It's just, I don't know, it's very funny. Peter Ustinov, is great as the villain. Here's Gordy, not quite Babe, right? It's like, well, it's Gordy. It's another type of pig movie if you couldn't get enough Charlotte's Web. All right, now this is interesting. Not one, not two, but 3 copies of Mary Poppins. I don't know why they decided to pick up that many. I've never seen or heard anybody in the family talk about it. But there's Toy Story. And my kids were actually watching that in the car on the way over here. But here's Aladdin. This is the big one for me. I mean, Aladdin was huge. I had the soundtrack cassette. I got to see it at a special screening at Disney's theater that they had up in Los Angeles with a summer daycare program. That was cool. Rescuers Down Under. That was another one that McDonald's was really all in for. There's the idea of the Return of the Rescuers, though, I always found kind of weird. It was like, was that first movie really that big a deal? Speaking of big deals, though, Annie. I watched this over and over again. Annie was a big production for me. It's how I got to know who Carol Burnett was. Miss Hannigan cracks me up, so that's awesome. All right, we got some Winnie the Pooh here. A Valentine for You, a little out of season, but we'll be in February soon enough. This one, though, Halloween with Frankenpooh? I mean, he looks like King Pooh up there. He looks like he's gigantic, Godzilla or something. Well, that sounds like a fun collection of Halloween stories. All right, let's get into some Christmas here. There's a lot of Christmas stuff going on. So we got The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Not so vintage, but how about Recess? If you were a big ABC Saturday Morning fan with their Christmas full-length movie. Now, this is fun. I've never seen a clamshell of Home Alone. I'll be honest. I have many copies of the slipcase that I come across. But this one, like a hard case clamshell, that's pretty neat. And hey, why not the sequel? Get them both. You're ready to roll. Wisely, my in-laws have not purchased any of the other Home Alone films, although I own them in my collection. How about this? Everybody knows the Santa Claus, but what about Leslie Nielsen and Santa Who? Very different than Mr. Magoo, I'm sure. Or not at all. All right, here's another one here. Arthur's Perfect Christmas. So that's a fun one. I gotta say, for me though, this is like the ultimate Christmas movie. The Snowman. I actually have a lot of copies of The Snowman on VHS as well. I loved checking out that book for my elementary school library. And again, these hard clamshells, I'm wondering if these were like special school editions or something, or maybe just a brief period of time. Then we have an FHE release of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, part of the Christmas Classics series. Award-winning special, of course it was. That's a neat one. Miracle on 34th Street, also a classic. I gotta say I prefer the original to the remake. There's White Christmas, sometimes controversial. And then here's a couple other random ones here. So The Wilderness Family. This is one of those movies that I'm sure my wife watched endlessly on some VHS tape that I have never seen. But check out this one for you Muppet fans. The Muppet Musicians of Bremen. Okay, part of Muppet Home Video. I recently found a Muppet Home Video promotional poster that had this style of art with Kermit on it and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one I have watched it here in the past. It's interesting. It's just kind of strange. Like, who's ever heard of that story? All right, the last ones here I wanted to share with you are just some home recorded VHS they have. So these are literally vintage 80s tapes. So this one has Cinderella and Blackbeard's Ghost, which my wife loves Blackbeard's Ghost, probably because she watched it on this tape a lot. But also, if you look here, Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again was at least at some point on this tape. So that's kind of fun. And then this one here, you could just barely make it out. It's very faded pencil, but it says Tubby there and Puff. That's Tubby the Tuba and Puff the Magic Dragon. Again, Tubby the Tuba is a big childhood memory for my wife, but the biggest childhood memory for her is The Goonies, and also Finian's Rainbow on this tape. But The Goonies was huge for her, and she had only ever seen this TV broadcast that they recorded. And so when she saw, the full version once we got married, she was like, huh? Swearing in this movie? I don't remember that. So yeah, so this is the home recorded copy, though. It's very fun that I could see the tape that she was popping into the VCR for all those years. But all right, hope you guys had a great holiday, and there is my in-laws VHS collection.